good day. It's healing now. Very Marshalls.
It just makes me think of like rom-coms in 90. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm keeping all of that, by the way.
Wait, are we recording?
Yeah.
This is not the episode. That didn't even make sense. This is how you're going to start your episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
So irritated.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how you start.
Jeremy's
Are you
back.
really starting this?
Yeah, it's recording.
You can't just do that.
And yes, I can.
Okay.
It's my podcast.
Okay. Well, that's...
We were having a good time. What I'm trying to do is let
if
people
you keep
know that
this
we're
singing,
having a good time.
I'm going to be upset. I'm
Why?
Because you didn't tell me when I
Okay.
was
What did you want to
randomly
be like?
singing into the fucking microphone.
I was with you, though. We were both singing. It was a duet.
Don't you play music and have an intro?
It was playing during the music.
That's what I meant about me not being able to hear it.
Okay, so Jeremy's back. Hey, y'all. Welcome to I Swear to Drunk I'm Not God.
I'll edit
it. With what tools? I'm not giving you the sound.
I am a video.
Okay.
That is so insulting.
Okay. So, hey, y'all. How you doing? Hope you're well. We're back. Volume 2.
Don't start it like
Nigga, if you don't let me do this episode.
this is on you. You chose to go this route. We didn't have to. It didn't have to be like
the
this.
United States Blackmail. Welcome back.
A normal person and count it down like we're about to start.
Nah, it's always...
Instead, I'm singing Sixpence None the Richer at the top of
Oh, that's their name. That's their name. Okay. Yeah, I like that song. You know who I also used to like? Savage Garden. I
had to stop because I was about to start singing it. Then I realized that I was in this happy recording situation.
Yeah. Okay. So, hey, y'all. Welcome to season 4, episode 10. Jeremy's mad because I'm not going to cut that part out.
A little bit. Yeah.
He'll be fine by the end of this.
I'll bury it down, but I'm not.
First of all, you don't even listen to it. Cha-ching.
First of all,
you don't.
I did listen to part of my episode.
Oh, which one?
The first one we did. No, maybe the second. I don't know.
Was it blackmail or was it...
Came mortified and stuff.
Got it. Okay. I won. That worked out. The whole goal is for everybody to be mortified in a way.
I mean, by my own... I'm not having this conversation.
You like my own voice.
Live. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I'm sorry,
I didn't even
y'all.
switch my voice to the radio voice.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Like, no one cares. The United States Blackmail. We're back. Volume 2. Part 1, Part 2. This is what it's going to be. Okay. I know. But, thankfully, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to get back to what really matters, which is serial killers.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. For this
90s rom.
All right. Get over it.
Tonally.
Get over it. For this episode, I read One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 2 by Whitney Webb, which I hope you all listen to the first one. I don't know what to say. There's a lot to say, and I'm not going to say any of it because we have reached a point where life is just strange, weird, kind of gross, kind of just a lot. So I'm not.
That's how I feel most mornings.
Yeah, like I'm not even going to go there. But we're back and we're going to finish up this conversation. So if you listened to Volume 1, thank you. If you learned anything in Volume 1, then...
You're welcome.
Yeah. I mean, but you also learned that the system was hijacked. But it wasn't just hijacked. It was kind of just built that way. Organized crime provided the methods and intelligence provided the protection and Wall Street provided the money laundry service that is all this shit. So let's get into Volume 2. And thankfully, this will be a 2-parter, I guess. I'm not ready, actually, because it's just...
After all that, you're not ready. The nerve. Look, the audacity.
TT died.
This is my podcast.
Now, Volume 1 recap. So the story started with the Bronfman liquor empire. Wonder if you remember that at all. And Meyer Lansky. And during Prohibition, the line between legitimate businessmen and mobster basically vanished. Okay. And Lansky wasn't just a gangster. He was a financial architect who realized that money is great, but blackmail is the ultimate currency. Now, the network realized that to operate in peace, they had to own the people meant to arrest them. That's just, you got to learn, you got to own the system. So we had Roy Cohn and we had Louis Rosenstiel. They perfected the honeypot, the famous blue suite parties with J. Edgar Hoover, where he dressed in women's drawers. He was named Mary at the Plaza Hotel, all of that. All of that happened in Volume 1. But by getting dirt on J. Edgar Hoover, who is the head of the FBI, they effectively turned the Bureau into a shield for organized crime instead of a weapon against it. So fast forward, the mob and the CIA realized that they had a lot in common, mainly that they both needed off the books cash for secret projects. So they started sharing piggy banks, basically, like the Intra Bank in Lebanon or the BCCI, which is called the Bank of Crook and Criminals. We talked about that in volume 1. And it also comes up in this episode. But when these banks collapsed, the money just went private and it started moving into hands that were unaccountable, basically. And so volume 1 establishes the favor bank, quote unquote, a system where the elite trade illegal favors protected by the mutual threat of blackmail. But if everyone has a folder of dirt on everyone else, no one talks and the enterprise just keeps running. Right. Mm-hmm. So the volume ends by showing that this is a state-sponsored infrastructure. It leaves us at like the doorstep of the 1970s and 80s, where the network moves from back alleys, into high-tech surveillance, digital money laundering, and the grooming of the next generation of assets to take the baton. That's basically what we talked about in volume 1. The poison on this episode is the Amaretto Sour. I wanted to make it the poison on this episode because my mom loves the Amaretto Stone Sour, and I just happened to be at dinner. I was like, ooh, I'm going to make this the Amaretto Sour. It's basically amaretto, fresh lemon juice, simple syrup, egg white with you could garnish it if you want. You don't know this, but on episodes, I always talk about how like I don't waste fruit on garnishes. You ever had Amaretto Sour?
I'm ashamed to admit that was my like gateway drink.
Yeah. My mom loves the Amaretto Stone Sour.
I never had the Stone Sour, but I used to get Amaretto Sours and like tequila sunrise. When I first started to drink, I started with very floral, flavorful drinks.
Yeah. I mean,
it took me years to get to like just straight whiskey.
I mean, just to be totally honest, drinking is nasty.
It's not great. It's till you love it.
Yeah. Samey. But basically you add those ingredients, including the egg white, into a shaker without ice. You shake it hard. You want to dry shake it to get the foam. And then you add ice and then you shake it again until it's chilled and you strain it into a rocks glass.
When you say it like that, I don't think that's what I was drinking. Like I was ordering them at Russian Division and like that is not how they made it, what you just said. Like, so.
Well, sometimes you dry shake, sometimes you don't, I guess.
I said Russian Division.
Yeah, you did, but.
So I'm sure they didn't do it the proper way.
Yeah, that was probably something. I don't know.
A long time ago.
Wait, what bar are we talking about? The Irish pubs on Division?
Yeah, like this is like when I was the Express Days. So like bootleggers and mothers. Yeah. I mean like the divey, like not whatever the little fake clubs they have over there. I mean like straight.
What's the one that's
bars
on the corner that's like across from Walgreens?
Is that Mothers or Mothers 2?
Maybe it's Mothers 2.
I think it's Mothers 2. Oh, it used to be. I don't know what's over there now.
I don't know what it's been a while. Now. But I went there during the pandemic. I had a good time.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I know you got something. Sorry. Like that was a cesspool before the pandemic.
Look here. So you're like, oh, that wasn't. I was about to say, and believe it or not, it was kind of empty, but it makes sense. It was busy, but
there was
not.
A global pandemic. I'm sure Russian Division wasn't popping. Well,
it was popping for a pandemic.
Yeah, now that I think about it, where that is, it's like it probably was actually.
Yeah,
popping.
It was kind of busting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start from the beginning. Sorry, y'all. So that's the cocktail. You got this. Sip. Sure, we already did. We've been sipping. So we're going to start from the beginning or really the end. That's a nice little sound effect.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I work in the industry.
Okay. Or we're going to start from the beginning or really the end of volume 1. And this is where Jeffrey Epstein enters the chat, who, of course, all of us are all very, very excited to talk about. Like, he's not being talked about enough. I know we're sick of this man, but this doesn't really weigh heavy into his sex crimes just yet. We do a little bit in part 2, but mostly we're going to talk about who he is, who the co-conspirators are, and what his alleged and confirmed motives were, which I think with all, like we talked about before we recorded, with all of these sex crimes, this is one thing that I feel like just keeps getting swept under the rug. It's not even just that it's swept under the rug. It's mentioned, but it's kind of just like, okay. And then the sex crimes, right? Like, this is a big part of why this man is who he is. When people ask the questions like, where did he get all this money from? Like, who was he working? Like, that's a big part. Like, the sex stuff was always a part of it, but it's also a part of a much larger scheme.
Yeah.
Because he's movie level con man.
Yeah, I remember one of those docs talking about, I don't remember which one I watched, but like talking about how he started to get into it and like schmooze and like just got deep in that network of big money.
Super flamboyant, super charismatic, super likable, but like one of those people that switches, which is always scary when people make you comfortable and then all of a sudden they just turn it off and you're like, whoa, who is that?
Triggered.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, my bad.
No, not your fault. It's just these people are out there. So
they are.
Just look out.
And
okay.
You triggered.
Well. Don't get us started.
Look, so who was Jeffrey Epstein? Now, Epstein was born January 20th, 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, to Pauline Stolovsky and Seymour George Epstein. He grew up in the Lafayette neighborhood near Coney Island in a working class family. Okay. His father, Seymour, was a groundskeeper for the New York Parks Department. And his mother, Paula, was a homemaker. She was a stay-at-home mom. His parents prioritized education as a means for Jeffrey and his brother, Mark, to ascend into higher levels of New York society. I mean, which I get. I mean, you want your kids to do well. You want your kids to do better than you did.
Sure.
So at age 14, he attended the prestigious Interlochen Center for the Arts on a scholarship for his aptitude with the bassoon. Yeah, he was musically gifted.
What a random fact.
Just random, right? He apparently played the piano well, too. Like, Epstein was like a kind of a musician. I don't want to say musical prodigy, but he did play well. Now, his parents prioritized education. Like I said, he went to Interlochen. He did all that, but he skipped 2 grades and graduated from Lafayette High School at just 16 years old. And Epstein's post-high school years were spent at these like 2 major New York institutions, though he never earned a degree from either. And he enrolled in an advanced mathematics class at Cooper Union, but left after 2 years to transfer. He attended the Courant Institute for Mathematical Sciences at NYU, where he studied mathematical physiology. And he left in June 1974 without a diploma. So he actually never had a degree. So that's another tale. I mean, no disrespect to people who don't have degrees, but this man was highly successful and like in all the right spaces of people who would have ordinarily had masters and PhDs and stuff.
So was he finessing the system or did he just not finish?
He just didn't finish.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Epstein, and this is what I learned just outside of this episode, that he was incredibly gifted.
That's what I just got. You just said piano, bassoon.
Yeah, like and most people who, I always say this, to be a musician, you kind of got to be good at math. Because it's a lot of like fractions, and I remember that from piano class. I was like, yeah, I ain't good enough in math for this.
Oh, yeah, about notes and like time.
Yeah, and counting time. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But regardless, he left June 1974 without a diploma. Nothing to see here. You know, things get weird, though, when Epi, which is what his family called him, and I just picked it up because I thought it was funny.
Oh, they actually called him that? I thought you were just saying it.
No, they called him Epi.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
He had 0 credentials, but he gets this job at Dalton School, which was an Upper East Side preparatory academy. He gets this job at 21 as a math and physics teacher.
At 21?
Yeah. Now, how does a 21-year-old college dropout with no teaching credentials get hired to teach physics and math?
To teach someone that's probably like a year or 2 younger? Like,
right. And at the most exclusive school in New York, by the way.
I'm going to be honest. I think I'm taking the wrong lessons from these episodes. Because like, I feel like every time I kind of leave and I'm always like, well, why didn't I get into something a little crimey? Like,
crimey is wild.
I mean, you were talking about the prohibition and just how well organized they were. I'm like,
if you haven't learned anything, I'm basically trying to teach you that if you put your mind to it and if you're possibly willing to go to jail, you can accomplish anything. In the words of Doc Brown.
Look.
Doc Brown didn't say those exact words, but
the phrase that comes to mind is, you hear me knocking, well, let me in.
Okay, period. You hear me knocking, but you can't come in.
I need this crime money.
Okay. Now, located on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, it serves as a primary feeder school for Ivy League and the New York elite. And during Epstein's tenure, which was started in like 1974, literally, Dalton was known for a very progressive bohemian atmosphere. So it was kind of like hip, kind of cool. And Dalton is actually where the children of billionaires, celebrities, and political dynasties go. So by landing a job there, Epstein, a Brooklyn kid with no degree, was essentially dropped into the center of the world's most powerful social network.
I'm sorry. How did he get the job, though? Like, did I miss that?
Nah, you ain't miss it.
Part? Okay.
Nope. Now, it was a networking hub, right? He was apparently recruited under the headmaster, Donald Barr, who is actually the father of the future Attorney General, William Barr. In the past, Donald Barr was an operative for the OSS, which, as we learned in Volume 1, the WW2 era intelligence agency that would later become the CIA. So the OSS used to be the CIA. Now, additionally, Donald Barr wrote a science fiction novel while at Dalton called Space Relations. Now, this book was about a planet where a dominant caste enslaved others for sexual and labor purposes. A bit of foreshadowing.
Painting a little picture
here,
huh?
But I digress. Now,
not really.
Students remember Epstein for his flashiness, right? He was wearing fur coats. He was a poor kid who came into some money, so it makes sense. I do the same. He was wearing fur coats. He had unbuttoned shirts.
Four fur coats at once.
He had unbuttoned shirts and gold chains. He was he was dressed like Guido. And for being...
Can you say that? I feel like every time I'm on the episode, I'm
you
like,
worry about the wrong things. I can do whatever I want.
Everybody needs HR.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Mm-mm. And for being popular, but what he was doing is he was pushing the student-teacher boundary. AKA he was socializing with students outside of class. And they were like, okay.
Not okay.
You're doing a lot. Which eventually led
But I guess it is okay if you're a year apart in age. I'm kidding. Dynamics.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter about the age.
It doesn't. He's young. This happened at Whitney Young with my Spanish teacher, where he was like, he ended up with one of the students. It was like, yeah, okay, but she's like 17 though. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
I was like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that.
Well, I guess you can't say that.
Yeah, I'm not going to say.
Okay.
But that eventually led to his dismissal, which also led to my Spanish teacher's dismissal.
Look, I won't say the name either, but we had another one that may or may not have taught music that was...
Ooh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to talk.
I need to see you after class. Like, he'd always say that.
I have no idea.
And he'd bring up, like, people's parents. He'd be like, I saw your mama. Don't tell your daddy, though. He used to say that all the time. All the time.
I have no idea who... Okay, we need to drop some names. Now, he was let go for poor performance in 1976. So he was in there from 74 to 76, but not before using his position to tutor the children of several of the Wall Street elites. But alas, onward and upward, apparently. Epstein secures a job at Bear Stearns that same year. You got to give me a minute because I already know what you think. Bear Stearns,
maybe,
is a powerhouse Wall Street investment bank. It had been a powerful bank for 85 years, was considered one of the most elite and aggressive firms in the world. And then CEO Alan Ace Greenberg hired Epstein as a junior assistant to a floor trader. So while he was at Dalton, Greenberg was so impressed by Epstein's mathematical ability and his charisma that Greenberg, who was himself a Dalton parent, reportedly saw him as a diamond in the rough, a scrappy, smart individual who fits the firm's PSD, which they call poor, smart, and with a deep desire to get rich. You need to become.
I was like, well,
you're like, wait a minute now. That was basically their hiring philosophy. Like, the more hungry you were, the more you would fight on the floor. It's kind of like
poor, smart, and deep desire.
Yep.
PSD.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street behavior, as we know. Like, the shenanigans were crazy.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah. I'm not fucking leaving. Now, after being hired, Bear Stearns discovered Epstein had lied on his resume about having a college degree. And despite this, they kept him on because of his skill as a salesman. And by 1980, 4 years later, at the age of 27, and after just 4 years, he had become a limited partner at the firm, earning a salary of $200,000 a year, which today is $800,000. His moment ended in 1981. He's just going. This dude's life was insane. While the official reason was kind of vague, but reports suggest that he was asked to leave due to administrative rule breaking or minor regulatory infractions.
That could mean so many things.
Now, this could be the reason, though. So in 1981, Epstein was interviewed as part of an insider trading investigation. There was an offer placed for St. Joe's Mineral Corp by Seagram. Remember, we talked about Seagram in Volume 1. Mm-hmm. It was owned by the powerful Bronfman family, which we talked about, and Epstein was right in the middle of it. Many people were found guilty, including a man named Giuseppe Tome, who was an advisor to Edgar Bronfman, who was an heir of the Seagram's business. Now, Bronfman reportedly leaked secret plans for corporate takeovers to his close associate, Giuseppe Tome, and before even his own board directors even knew about them. Now, Tome used this insider info to make illegal trades. And so Tome eventually fled to the U.S. to avoid a he fled from the U.S. to avoid a $3.5 million penalty, while Bronfman claimed he had no knowledge of the crimes. Whitney Webb, the writer of the book, points out that he had a habit of sharing sensitive secrets with his inner circle. So really, Epstein got in trouble for insider trading, possibly. The inner circle of billionaires provided a layer of protection that kept all of these men above the law. So Epstein, who's a floor trader, traded for this guy who received the information from the very company that was involved. So that's insider trading. So he made a buku. I mean, that's what Martha Stewart got in trouble for.
Crazy.
She went to jail. Now, Epstein...
I mean, I'm assuming this just people get caught. I would assume this happens all the time. Like, literally all the time. Like,
it also happens in politics.
You tell your friends when you get good information. Like,
that happens in politics all the time, too.
Everywhere. It happens everywhere.
I mean, the reason why it's messy in politics, though, to me specifically, is because the decisions of politicians is what can manipulate the markets. Mm-hmm. So if you've invested in a particular... Nancy Pelosi has actually gotten heat for doing shit like this, but if you invest in particular companies and you are in a position where you can politically affect that company, right, or affect the market that affects that company, mm-hmm, after you've invested in it, it's like, oh, well, okay, you are the mover and the shaker that can ultimately increase your return.
Right.
So Epstein's firing from Bear Stearns set the stage for him to start his own mysterious consulting business, which in 1981, Epstein founded the Intercontinental Assets Group, which was called IAG, where he branded himself as a high-stakes bounty hunter for the ultra-wealthy. Now, what does this mean? He claimed that he could recover stolen or embezzled funds for billionaires and governments. He also alleged that he helped clients who were themselves embezzlers. Now, during this time, Epstein, yes. When I read this part in this book, I was like, come again? His whole thing was he was telling associates that he was an intelligence agent. And he was making moves like one too, because he was taking trips to Europe, to the Middle East. He was with British defense contractors like Douglas Leese, who actually comes up in the Epstein files, and Saudi arms dealer Adnan Khashoggi, who we talked about in volume 1. This confirms some level of involvement in international trade, arms trades, and smuggling, and shell company creation. He learned very quickly that it's not really what you do, it's how you hide it. You kind of get away with anything as long as you can cover up the trail, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember this from volume 1, but there was a scandal that I talked about called the Towers financial scandal. It was a Ponzi scheme. And by 1987, Epstein met this man named Stephen Hoffenberg, who also shows up in the Epstein files, but he shows up in a different way. He was the CEO of Towers Financial Corporation, a debt collection agency, and Hoffenberg had hired Epstein as a consultant, paying him $25,000 per month. So this man is just eating left and right. That's $71,000 today. Hoffenberg, what's crazy. Hoffenberg later described Epstein as his wingman and the architect of a massive Ponzi scheme that robbed investors out of nearly $500 million. They used Tower Financial as a vehicle to attempt a hostile takeover on Pan Am Airways. But it failed. And that was partially due to the Lockerbie bombing in 1988, which hurt the airline. This is basically a situation where like the plane exploded. And so the airline's value had plummeted. And so eventually the company went bankrupt. This hostile takeover just didn't work because they were like, wait, I mean, this airline's in trouble. And so they ended up exposing themselves. And the Ponzi scheme went public. So by 1987, Epstein accelerated. And I mean, when I say he accelerated, he really did. Epstein's life during this time is murky at best. He once claimed that flat out he worked for the CIA. He would just tell people. But then he later denied. He was like, no, I don't. It's like, who?
So was he lying, or you're saying he really did work for the CIA?
He worked for multiple agencies. He was counterintelligence. He was all over the place.
See,
he was all over. He was not loyal. What I will say though, he was loyal to Mossad mostly, but we talking CIA. If he tried for a minute to get with the Russians, and the Russians were like skedaddle.
See, this is where I would normally say something, but I'm not going to say it.
What you was going to say?
He's not dead.
Thank you.
He's not dead.
Thank you. We could talk about
like that. I know people say that all the time, but like I'm saying based off of what you just said, if he was always at the very beginning of all this working with, why would he? Who? They hit him.
That's called extraction.
Yeah.
But now,
if he's really been planted in all these circles all these years ago, and he's been making that kind of money since you said essentially what, 20? Like, yeah.
But I will tell you, I do have a reason why he may actually be dead, but I'll get there. I'll get there. Mm-hmm. We'll get there. So he also claimed to have worked for governments to recover money stolen by African dictators. He claimed that those same dictators hired him to help hide their money. So Stephen Hoffenberg claims that Epstein was trained he was loyal to zero person.
Clearly, you can't work for every side everywhere. Like
he was like, I can do that and this. Now, Stephen Hoffenberg claimed that Epstein was trained by Sir Douglas Leese, the mysterious British arms dealer who allegedly became Epstein's mentor and who was deeply embedded in the British military industrial complex, and Adnan Khashoggi, the Saudi billionaire arms dealer. He was famous for his role in Iran-Contra, which we talked about in volume 1. Now, Hoffenberg claims that Khashoggi and Leese trained Epstein in arms trafficking and money laundering to support operations for Israel and the United Kingdom. But Khashoggi and Lease were running another operation while Iran-Contra was going on. And that was called the Chinese Connection. Epstein was working under the guidance of Douglas Lease, reportedly acted as an intermediary for the sale of Chinese weapons through a state-owned company called Norinco. It was China North Industrial Corporation. Those guns were being sold to Iran during the Iran-Iraq War. So messy. But that war was about between like 1981, 1988. But at the time, China was Tehran's largest arms supplier, signing deals that were worth about $16 billion. So Epstein's role was to handle the financials of it. He was moving the money through offshore shell companies. He was hiding the origins of the funds. He was working with Norinco, like in direct coordination with the Chinese military. The cash from these sales were allegedly laundered through BCCI, which we talk about. It's basically a bank for spies, which allowed the network to build these massive black budgets that existed outside of the government oversight. So the government had no idea what's going on because these banks didn't really operate like that. They were like seedy banks. Mm-hmm. Now, Whitney Webb argues that this is where Epstein first proved his usefulness as a designated asset who could bridge the gap between Western intelligence, the Middle East, and China. So this is what we're talking about too. Not just one intelligence agency. He was working for anybody that was willing to hire him. Mm-hmm. Then there was the Al Yamama deal in 1985. Now, a Syrian-born businessman named Saeed is widely considered the primary architect of the deal. He was a close friend of the Saudi royals, and he served as an official agent to the British Aerospace. Doug Lease was the underworld specialist who reportedly handled the messy side of the deal. But Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was involved. Saudi Defense Minister Prince Sultan, he signed the initial memorandum. And Britain agreed to supply 72 Tornado and 30 Hawk airplanes. That was the agreement. But what they established was an oil for arms trade. So the Saudis had to pay them 600,000 barrels of oil per day for those airplanes. Yes. According to the UK parliamentary records and former business partner Stephen Hoffenberg, Lease moved secret commissions through offshore accounts, specifically this bank in Bermuda. And by 1988, billions came through the British aerospace systems and infrastructure projects in Saudi Arabia. So Douglas Lease, who's the British side, was showing Epstein how to use offshore banks in the Bermuda and the Caribbean to hide bribes. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do crime.
Okay.
Like, I know I'm not supposed to say it. Like, you just keep saying billions and millions. And
but
like,
you got to understand.
And it's all like...
I know you keep saying that.
Not violent crime. Like, it's not like you're stealing from like, you're stealing from, like, criminals. Like, that's...
You're stealing from criminals, but the arms are being used to murder a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then, too...
I just skipped right over that,
You did. You skipped that part.
That's
but
fine.
Also...
It's not fun.
A lot of people die from this stuff. They get offed.
Sure.
When they're done with you, you gotta go.
That's fair, because it could have been
like
what we were just talking about. Like, that could have been why he's gone.
Yeah, there's no retirement, right? Like, at some point, it's like, we're done with you. Now, much later, 2006 to 2007, this deal was investigated by SFO, which is the Serious Fraud Office. After this deal morphed...
It's a terrible name.
It's awful, but that's the British for you. But after the deal morphed into an attempt to sell these
How did they get
jets
astray?
in 2006, they got in trouble for attempting to sell these Typhoon jets, 72 of them, by the way. The investigation was abruptly terminated by Tony Blair, who was the prime minister at the time, citing national security. Anytime they don't want to talk about something, it's a matter of national security. So in 2010, the British Aerospace Systems eventually paid roughly $400 million in a settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice regarding false statements about the deal's commissions. So as of 2026, by the way, the recent arrest of the prince formerly known as Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has reopened Pandora's box on the Al Yamama deal from the 1980s. Because it came up in the Epstein files that this nigga was openly having conversations with an intelligence agent about British arms deals. That is one of the reasons why Prince Andrew was stripped of his titles, even though he got caught in the sex stuff, but he always been a freaky pervert. It wasn't about that. It was about the Al Yamama deal. Because Epstein managed to seed the money that was, possibly. The investigation was whether or not Epstein had seeded the money that was originally skimmed from the Al Yamama deal to fund his operations. So Epstein basically would have received a commission. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Epstein's connection to Prince Andrew was rooted in a 40-year-old web of British defense interests and arms deals that involved Andrew's social circle and even Margaret Thatcher's son, Mark Thatcher. So the Al Yamama deal, it was funky. It was weird. It happened in the 80s. But when they released the Epstein files and those Epstein emails, they could see where a lot of this stuff was being he was pillow talking. Prince Andrew. He was... You are supposed to be keeping certain deals and secrets you're supposed to be loyal to your own country. Sure. Which would be the UK. Mm-hmm. You're in this high level position. You pillow talking with this man, probably because you wrapped up in little girls right now. And Epstein is like, hey, so what about X, Y? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. He's completely compromised at that point.
And you don't literally mean pillow talking, right?
I mean, well,
or are we getting there?
No, I don't. No, we're not getting there.
With this story, I don't know.
This is a little topsy turvy. No, you're not wrong. But no, I'm saying that you kicking it with this man on his boats and
sure.
on his island and all of that other stuff.
But to be fair, these episodes, some of them took a turn.
Oh, yes, so absolutely. 100% fair question. Now, with that being said, Hoffenberg died in 2022. And Lise, according to the Epstein emails, died in 2011. His death was confirmed by an email sent by Jeffrey Epstein, on May 12, 2011, to an associate named Paula, stating, Douglas Lise died last week. That's how we know Douglas Lise is dead. He was in his 80s, so... Now, Hoffenberg took the fall for the tower's financial scandal, and in 1997, Hoffenberg was sentenced to 20 years in prison in order to pay $462 million in restitution. But Hoffenberg spent 18 years behind bars and spent the rest of his days laying in to Epstein, which is what I meant when I said that Hoffenberg was in the emails, because there are emails where Hoffenberg's attorney is like, Epstein's assistant is like, Hoffenberg's trying to get in touch with you. Hoffenberg's attorney's trying to get in touch with you. Hoffenberg was sick of being the fall guy for the tower's financial Ponzi scheme. Mm. And that's why we got all this tea about Al Yamama and his relationship with Adnan Khashoggi, because Hoffenberg was so burned. He was like, wait a minute. This man engaged in the same financial crimes as me. I get 20 years. He get nothing. Hoffenberg served 18 years. Epstein got nothing. This is the way he backbends out of every scenario is another reason why asset. Yeah. Asset. It's the same.
Clearly he has.
He's protected and Hoffenberg was gunning for him ever since, until the day he died. He was like, no, this man needs to go down now. If it was crime, then it was a crime. Yeah. Why am I the only one getting in trouble for something we were all engaged in? Which I'm like, valid.
Man, but it's also... that ain't gonna get me out.
But it's also kind of...
Let me out.
Yeah, it's also kind of snitch behavior at the same time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is if you're trying to get yourself out, which is also snitch behavior. True. But it's like, we should both be here. It's like, how does that help me?
Yeah, but, I hate to say it, but this white collar... Ain't no honor amongst these type of thieves anyway. We think it's street code. I think it's
I'm like, different. I just want to get out. Like,
it's like
get him too. Like,
you did 18 years. Like, I would probably. This sounds terrible. I'd probably be more focused on trying to get you killed. Yeah.
Never mind. I'm gonna just stop saying I'm scared and just take a beat of silence.
Yeah, like just, But Lease, that's funny. Lease never got in trouble, by the way. Died. He lived out his days in the Isle of Man and in the Bermuda. He never got in trouble. I mean, this is just privilege. Like, these people just don't get in trouble for anything that they do. Now let's just go back in time again back to the 80s. So the BCCI, the Bank of Crooks and Criminals, I love that name, was talked about in Volume 1. It was the major player in the movement of shadow money for seedy characters. Stephen Hoffenberg said off the record that Epstein indeed had a direct relationship with BCCI, which to me also makes Stephen Hoffenberg like kind of not all that trustworthy, because we know he's a little scorned for going to jail. Like,
definitely not trustworthy.
You know what I mean? Like, you could be snitching, but you could also be lying on this man because you mad because you went to jail and he didn't. You know what I'm saying? So I took everything Stephen Hoffenberg said with a grain of salt. At the same time, if Stephen Hoffenberg and Epstein definitely worked together, he probably could be telling the truth too. But I think this is why Epstein was like, ignore him. Epstein kind of had the energy of like, whatever. He's just going to look bitter.
Yeah.
He just looks bitter.
Yeah. Which is probably the calmest way to handle it.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm not going to engage in that. So Stephen Hoffenberg said off the record that Epstein had a relationship with BCCI. And since Khashoggi was Epstein's client and the BCCI was Khashoggi's primary bank, it is highly likely that Epstein was integrated in the BCC network. How are you not?
Yeah.
If your client is banking with them and you get paid by your client.
Sure.
Right. So the BCCI even created a specialized department in Pakistan to curry favor with powerful Middle Eastern rulers. One person's name was Begum Ashgar Rahim, who worked for the bank. She would go into villages and find virgin women between the ages of 16 and 20. She would take them to cities, pay their families, teach them how to dress and how to act, including teaching them the correct mannerisms before presenting them to princes.
She need to go to jail.
Thank you.
That's awful.
Gross.
Yeah,
she reportedly,
because I'm sure these girls and families all needed the money and were desperate, and that,
which is
terrible.
Also like, parents suck. By the way, can't get over that part.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Same evil, like desperate and giving up your kids to make it is crazy.
It's wild. She reportedly handled 50 to 60 girls at a time. She was spending up to $100,000 on clothes and jewelry for outfits for her charges. And former officials admit that the bank provided the young girls, some who hadn't even reached puberty.
Ew.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. They also provided young males too for homosexual VIPs.
Yikes.
So Epstein later paid for girls. Obviously, he paid for their education, their clothing to make them presentable to the elite as well. And this was the almost exact replica of what they used to do with BCCI in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So he could have learned it from there. Again, this is all speculation. None of us were there. What can we say? Now, Khashoggi, on the other hand, he gave clients anything they wanted. Women, food, cash. One of his associates, Pamela Boards, she described being part of an enormous group of women used as bait to entice or potentially blackmail politicians, diplomats, and celebrities. And Whitney Webb suggests that these orgies were not just for pleasure, but they were a structured way of collecting compromising information on world leaders. Mm-hmm. So Epstein was a student of men like Khashoggi. He learned that the most effective way to control a billionaire or a politician wasn't really through money, but through sexual bait and blackmail, all facilitated by these dark banks like BCCI. He was inserted into a pre-existing system used by banks and intelligence agencies where sex trafficking and arms dealing were used as currency. So by taking on Khashoggi as a client, Epstein placed himself in a world of international espionage. This dude is like a dirty James Bond. Former Israeli intelligence officer Ari Ben Manash claimed that Khashoggi and Robert Maxwell were running other operations, and Epstein was there between 83 and 85. He was integrated in Robert Maxwell's London, and by he, I mean Epstein. Epstein was integrated into Robert Maxwell's London-based intelligence network. And this is when he helped move the Chinese weapons to Iran during the Iran-Iraqi war. He was working with the British at that time, and the British side of things was handled by Robert Maxwell, who is Ghislaine Maxwell's father. So Maxwell introduced Epstein as a man who had been approved by the higher-ups in Israeli intelligence. Ben Menashe believes that the officials who approved Epstein was Ehud Barak, who is the future prime minister of Israel, who was then the head of the military intelligence at the time. And Ben Menashe also mentions that Ghislaine Maxwell was with her father at those meetings, suggesting that she was involved in intelligence activities long before the 1990s.
That makes sense.
They claim that they met in the 90s, but Whitney Webb's like, did they? Now, the London team was involved in the transfer and the sale of military weapons from Israel to Iran. Maxwell explicitly wanted to involve Epstein in these transfers. He wanted to. Epstein wasn't even 35 yet. He's done so much. He's not even 35.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Between 1987, he's
35. No, I know, but I'm just thinking about my age. And
between 1987 and 1988.
How much was he worth at this point?
Oh, well, I have no idea.
Okay.
It's hard. It's hard to tell because his money's so.
Oh, that's true. Like
it's so
not
quiet.
Like you just Google him. Like
between 1987 and 1988, Epstein began branding himself as a property developer. Right? This was a cover that allowed him to move large amounts of money and property for his elite clients. I mean, that makes sense.
It's a good cover.
He met Donald Trump during this period.
Of course he did.
Through their shared real estate circles in New York and Florida. That's how.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure, that's what it was. That's where they met.
Yeah, of course. Now, fun fact. In 1988, same year, Trump's... Shut up. Leave her alone. She just need to be left alone. She acting psycho.
Uh-oh.
In 1988, Trump purchased the Plaza Hotel. Involved, the one that Roy Cohn had previously used for his Blue Suite parties with J. Edgar Hoover. Mm-hmm. He purchased that. And according to journalist Michael Wolff, they had juicy parties that consisted of Trump, Epstein, and this man named Tom Barak. Tom Barak was later the chairman of Donald Trump's 2017 inaugural committee. He came under federal investigation for illegal foreign contributions and pay-to-play schemes. And now he's the U.S. ambassador of Turkey. Nobody's in jail. Well, Epstein went to jail, but he said they were called the set of nightlife musketeers, which I mean kind of tracks because there's that infamous video from the 80s of Epstein and Trump. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think so.
It's weird. They're both really young and they're like at a party and it's a lot. It's
from the 80s. Okay.
Yeah, it's from the 80s.
No, I don't think I've seen that.
I'm gonna show it to you. Now, where was I? Oh, so there was a male model by the name of Andy Lucchese who helped organize the parties at the Plaza. And he claimed that there was illegal drugs and young women, some as young as 14, and they were passed around. It's funny that I read that because Uncle Luke, 2 Live Crew Luke.
Yes, I'm familiar.
He was on a podcast talking about when he was invited to a party in Florida by Trump. And he said he was like, absolutely not. He was like, because he was like, no.
There's a couple rapper stories like that, like where they get really vague about things like that, where they're like, yeah, I got invited to a thing once. So it's like, nah. And
I ain't going. He said he went. He was like, they showed up. He was like, of course, it was, Donald Trump at the time. He was who he was at the time. Sure. He was like, it's a party in Florida. And it was kind of sold to him like, oh, there'll be girls there, blah, 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 blah. He like, sign me up, you know? And then he said he got there and he was like, looking around like,
I'm sorry, did I accidentally come to a children's birthday party?
Are we at Kittyland? Like, what is happening?
Yeah,
and you
that's
know,
crazy.
2 Live Crew was all about the
grown women.
Like, they want bodies.
Adults.
They ain't trying to be looking at no 12-year-old girls.
Yes, as no one should.
He said they were way... He wouldn't really get too detailed in it because obviously...
Because he wanted to be alive?
Yeah, and he didn't want to incriminate anybody either because obviously the president. But he definitely mentioned Trump because it was his party. But other than that, he was just like, yeah, you know, I was invited. He was like, there were young girls there. He was like, I don't know that Trump did anything with them. He was like, but they were there.
Yeah.
So now it would be 1988 too when Epstein finds his, excuse me, Jesus Christ, his golden ticket. Leslie Wexner. Okay, I mentioned him, but we're going to talk about who he is. Now, he's born in 1937, right? He's a Russian immigrant parents. He's from Dayton, Ohio. His father opened a store named Leslie's in Columbus. And Wexner broke away from his parents' business strategy, which was what he called foolish, to focus exclusively on women's sportswear. So he borrowed $5,000 from his aunt to open the first The Limited store.
Oh, yeah.
Now, The Limited began by modeling its clothes after the Villager brand, which specifically targeted high school and college-aged girls. And Wexner became...
my God. You just connected so many dots right now.
Crazy. Wexner became close to A. Alfred Taubman, who eventually became his mentor. Taubman summoned Wexner to Detroit, and he flew him around in a helicopter to look at shopping centers and told Wexner that his stores were a blight for the shopping centers. He's like, you need to change this, do something different. Now, this began a lifelong partnership where Taubman, who would later go to prison for a massive price fixing scandal at Sotheby's, the auction house, he helped Wexner expand his empire nationwide. And Taubman brought Wexner into his inner circle. He eventually was leading Wexner's relationship with this man named Max Fisher. And Fisher was ultimately a fixer as well. He was a Detroit-based oil industrialist who was above reproach in the eyes of the media, but he moved with extreme caution. Now, Fisher came by this honestly because Fisher had ties to Detroit's notorious Purple Gang, which was a violent Jewish organized crime syndicate, allegedly. And Fisher used the philanthropy model to scrub his image of any association with the Purple Gang and the underworld. But he then taught his exact model to Leslie Wexner, who in turn used it to provide the respectability that shielded Epstein for decades. So he was basically using philanthropic enterprises, The Limited, and all this other stuff to help Epstein hide his crimes. And we gonna get into that because that was weird. It's weird, especially knowing as a mall kid, knowing what The Limited actually was.
Yeah,
it's weird to think about.
Well, because I started thinking about, I probably mentioned on that last episode, but I worked for the limited company, like Express.
Oh, yeah.
That's all the same. Limited,
yeah.
Limited 2,
yeah.
Express structure. And I'm just thinking about Limited 2 and all the teenager stuff. And I'm like, oh.
And you know what I thought it was too? And I may be wrong, but I thought, wasn't Lerner? Remember Lerner? It turned into New York and Company.
Oh, maybe. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I don't know though, but I thought they were a part of this brand too. Now, another fun fact was that in 1975, Max Fisher became a chairman of the United Brands, which is called the United Fruit Company. And it was a company with a historic, notorious tie to the CIA. It was a CIA front. The company was a central player in the 1954 CIA-led overthrow of the Guatemalan government. They are now Chiquita Banana.
Oh.
It's such a mess. I should
We're not even supposed to know.
I should have put more energy into explaining the United Fruit thing, but I was like, nah, let's keep it Epstein because I already go segue sometimes. But
I feel like that's low key a separate episode.
That's
like
a
how
whole
all these
episode.
Things are connected
These
to
government
basically
scandals,
old school crime.
Yes, absolutely.
Like everyday things we know.
Absolutely.
Never changed names. Never changed. Like it's just. That's what it was based from.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Crazy. So crazy. So Wexner's business mentors were literally business partners with Meyer Lansky, who I talked about in Volume 1. He's the Jewish mob accountant. And by the time Epstein entered the picture in the late 80s, Wexner had already spent over a decade being vetted and partnered by men who operated in an overlap between the CIA and mob-linked money, or CIA and mob-linked money laundering hubs. So after being involved in a scandal, and then another scandal, and then another scandal, and then a mysterious murder, and then another mysterious murder, and then a con, and then another con, Max Fisher and Wexner used major Jewish charities as a social and political shield, including the Wexner Foundation, which was filled with Israeli intelligence veterans and assets. Just so we're clear on that. I'll expand.
Did they help anyone with the fake charity, or was it literally just
no? I mean, they would have to help someone.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, they would have to, because, and we're going to find out who they helped. So it was established in 1989, right? So Epstein was kind of playing as Wexner's kind of like shadow CEO. The foundation's flagship program is the Wexner Israeli Fellowship. Now, excuse me. Each year, the foundation selects 10 outstanding Israeli public officials, usually from the military, the Mossad, or a high-level government office, and sends them to Harvard Kennedy School. It was about intergenerational intelligence ties, and it placed Israeli intelligence assets directly in the middle of America's elitist institution, Harvard. So Wexner's fellows, which is what they were called, go on to become heads of like the IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Force, or high-ranking Mossad officers, or even prime ministers. This is just like a gateway into the Israeli intelligence world. The foundation has historically been staffed by individuals with backgrounds in the CIA and the IDF, and it allows them to see who the rising stars are in both the U.S. and Israel, giving Epstein and his patrons a first look at the people who will run the world in 20 years.
That's terrifying. Like, when you put it like that, it's actually low-key terrifying.
It is giving Dr. Evil.
It's like they're just setting people up for like, I didn't know it was like such a program.
They are basically they're training and setting up Israeli spies.
I mean, I think that's what's crazy that I get from all these episodes. It's like, it's just so organized. Like, it is the epitome of like what you would call organized crime. Like, I just didn't know it was so sophisticated.
When I see pictures of Epstein now in the Epstein files, and he's sitting with a bunch of men, I'm like, oh, this is where these niggas talk about this type of shit. These social clubs, dinners, brunches, events, blah, blah, blah. Chilling on the island, doing it when you're not diddling little girls. Yikes. Doing all of the things, having these very deep think tank type conversations about how you are going to position yourself and people in this world and what the future is going to look like for them. I mean,
it's crazy because we've talked about it before, but just the idea, like, when you get older and you realize like a lot of big business deals are done like over dinner and drinks.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely not work. Like, and I mean like not crime. I just mean like normal big business. Like people meet for lunch and have a drink, have a cocktail.
It's not generally in an office or corporate space.
Yeah. All these big moves. Yeah.
Now, Epstein would eventually use his position at the foundation to sue Les Wexner's mother, Bella, effectively seizing control of the family's philanthropic honor.
I don't know what that was funny to me.
It is hilarious because it's so nefarious.
To sue somebody's mother,
wow. And he turned it into an intelligence-linked slush fund. So between 1987 and 1990, and I'm using like kind of the same dates over and over because all of this stuff is kind of happening concurrently. No, that's the wrong word. At the same time. Is that concurrently? Sure. Whatever. Now, Epstein's rise was so rapid and dramatic that he displaced Wexner's longtime money manager, Harold Levin, as well, who was forced to resign. Epstein began serving as a financial advisor to Wexner. And this was 2 years after Arthur Shapiro's murder in 1985. Now, this is important because Shapiro was a tax attorney for Les Wexner. And he was reportedly about to testify before a grand jury regarding a tax evasion scheme involving Wexner's companies. And Shapiro was shot at point blank range in broad daylight in Columbus, Ohio, after a chase. A man in black shot him twice in the head. Now, Shapiro's car was found the next day in a mall parking lot, wiped clean of all fingerprints. Police immediately classified it as a professional mob hit. So you have Les Wexner's tax lawyer, the man who knew where all of the financial bodies were buried, getting executed in broad daylight just as he was supposed to talk to the grand jury.
Yeah, that sounds about
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now,
that part's not even shocking.
Sure. Now, back in 1985, a 1985 profile, I just thought this was very interesting. Les Wexner was in the New York Magazine in an article titled "The Man in the Mirror," where Wexner claimed that after his father's death, he felt as though his father's spirit had jumped into him. And he described it as a sudden and total transformation where he...
Oh, you meant literally?
Literally.
Wow. Okay.
Where he began to walk, talk, and even dress like his father. So Wexner leaned into the imagery of being possessed. There is a Jewish folklore called the Dybbuk. Have you ever heard of a Dybbuk box?
I have not.
Okay. So a Dybbuk is a disembodied soul that enters a living person to complete a task or live out life it couldn't finish.
I certainly hadn't heard that before this moment.
The nigga from the paranormal shows, Zach, whatever his name is, I can't stand him. Or
Galifianakis.
Nope. He does like American Ghost Stories or something.
Oh, that's why I don't know.
He does those tours. I hate those.
I don't watch those.
But he ended, if I'm not mistaken, he bought the Dybbuk box. The Dybbuk box was this box that...
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be super paranormal. It's supposed to have a Dybbuk inside. Yeah, he also bought the Annabelle doll at some point.
Got you.
Yeah,
okay.
he has an oddities museum in Vegas, and he buys that type of stuff for that. So I guess I get it, but I wouldn't.
Well, I tend to stay away from said things, but we all know how I.
Yeah, I know how you roll.
Yeah.
Now Whitney Webb suggests that that whole Dybbuk talk might have been a psychological coping mechanism or a mask that Wexner used to deal with his extreme stress of, I don't know, maybe being involved in a murder investigation. But immediately, though, following this professional hit, Wexner dives deeper into like high level philanthropy, right? Like with organizations linked to foreign intelligence, all this type of stuff. And by 1991, just as Epstein was becoming Wexner's right-hand man, the Columbus police chief was actively destroying intelligence report that linked Wexner to the professional mob hit. And the same Columbus power brokers who were allegedly involved in the Shapiro cover-up, they were the Kesslers, Barry and John Kessler, aka Jack Kessler, are the ones who installed Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan. These people, everybody knows each other. And once Epstein took over as top money manager in 1990, the entities named in the Shapiro murder file began to disappear. So the new Dybbuk in the room was Epstein. Epstein spent the next 5 years dissolving any shell company and cleaning up the messy paper trails of all of his shenanigans, Wexner's shenanigans. And one was this development called the New Albany development. This was a massive multi-decade real estate development project in Ohio that transformed thousands of acres of farmland into one of the wealthiest communities in the United States. And Leslie Wexner had a business partner, Jack Kessler, who was a political figure. They all began to buy up like thousands of acres of land. And to keep the land prices from skyrocketing, they used shell corporations to hide the fact that one of the world's richest men was the buyer. Epstein was involved in cleaning that up. He was brought in 1988 to clean it up. His reward for cleaning this up was a 23-room mansion. Right. In 1989, Wexner
I'm literally looking for a 1-bedroom Just one. Continue.
Now, in 1989, Wexner purchased the Herbert and Strauss House, the largest private residence in Manhattan, for $13.2 million. And Wexner, he bought it, but he never moved in. Wexner transferred the ownership to Jeffrey, complete with surveillance systems that would later be used to record his high-profile guests.
I ate out twice yesterday, and I've been thinking about it all day today. Like, I got Chipotle, and I got Chick-fil-A, and I was like, this is a lot.
Budget.
You're doing a lot, but you need the calories. And then here tonight, you said that that's fine.
The way they...
That's fine.
This was also the potential site for a lot of the compromising activities that Epstein later, conducted.
I'm not condoning any of that.
Of course.
It's just this big money talk is doing something.
I know. I get it. It's a lot. Now, Wexner...
I don't condone the kid stuff, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now, Wexner transferred a massive 71st Street mansion to Epstein-controlled entity for $0, and even began using Wexner's private Boeing 727, which was later called the Lolita Express.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's sick.
And he took control of the guest house at Wexner's Palm Beach estate, which became the initial base for a lot of his trafficking operations. So even crazier. In July 1991, Wexner signed over full power of attorney to Epstein. This gave Epstein the legal authority to sign Wexner's name, to hire and fire employees, to borrow hundreds of millions of dollars, and to buy and sell any of Wexner's assets without asking for permission. Epstein reportedly used this power to restructure the Limited and move Wexner's personal wealth into a complex offshore trust that was shielded from oversight. Now, Epstein had also begun using his connection to Wexner to pose a talent scout for Victoria's Secret.
What?
Executives at the Limited complained to Wexner that Epstein was using the brand to lure and harass models. Wexner reportedly ignored these warnings, granting Epstein sovereign immunity within his empire.
Everything in this country is rooted in evil. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's absolutely insane.
That was so dramatic, but it's true. This is a lot.
Have you been listening to everything you've been saying? Like,
I wrote it. It's crazy.
Well, it's not me being dramatic.
Yeah. Now, Wexner and billionaire Charles Bronfman then formed what's called the Mega Group. I touched on this very briefly in Volume 1. It was an exclusive club of 20 of the world's richest, wealthiest Jewish businessmen, including Steven Spielberg, apparently. And Epstein was the fixer. Okay. The official mission of the Mega Group was the Jewish continuity.
I'm sorry, you saying Mega Group?
Mega Group, like
they
Mega Man.
Names.
They do. They need to work on it. But the official mission of the group was Jewish continuity and philanthropy. So their activities during this period was focused on three things: real estate, retail, and intelligence-linked logistics. So Wexner and Epstein were instrumental in relocating Southern air transport from Miami to Rickenbacker International Airport in Columbus, Ohio. And the Southern air transport was a CIA front that was super involved in the Iran-Contra affair that we talked about in Volume 1 and used to ferry weapons and drugs. So there was also the Tower Air situation, which was founded by this man named Zev Thompson. He was an Israeli-American with deep ties to intelligence as well. And Tower Air was utilized for black box operations and covert transport. So by bringing these airlines into the Limited, right, Epstein turned a legitimate multi-billion-dollar corporation that made clothes into a logistics front for international linked asset movement like weapons and drugs. Now, while this is going on, in November 1991, Robert Maxwell takes a dip accidentally in the Atlantic forever.
Oh, I was like, where is this going? Like,
Now, in the
Yep.
1980s,
Forever.
the U.S. government stole I talked about this briefly too in Volume 1, stole a powerful database system called PROMIS. It was called Prosecutors Management Information Systems, right? They stole it from an American company named Inslaw. And Israeli intelligence obtained the software and added a backdoor that allowed them to spy on any agency that was using it.
This is like Mission Impossible.
Literally,
Like it literally is.
No,
like
it is
the knock list, and then like, but it's double encrypted.
knock list,
I mean,
yes.
it literally sounds like that. Like I understand it's this is real, but just how dramatic this is.
There has been great content on how Epstein's influence could have reached Hollywood, especially with his relationship with a lot of producers and directors.
You just said Spielberg was in the mega group.
Absolutely.
Like,
and, obviously like Woody Harrelson. But what we do know, and we learned this in film school.
whoa. What about Woody Harrelson?
Not Woody Harrelson. Woody
I'm
Allen.
like, he didn't do anything wrong. Don't you bring his name up.
I'm so sorry. I would never disrespect him. I love Woody Harrelson.
He seems to be a very unproblematic white man. Seems to be.
But, excuse me, as we know about film, the Hollywood system is used as propaganda.
100%.
So a lot of the films and television and things that that people have been putting great content out that is like, this is weird now that now that we know what we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it feels like Epstein was everywhere because Epstein was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's just true. Now, this is about Maxwell, though. So Maxwell, he was the designated salesman for this software. And he sold this software that was bugged to the U.S. Department of Justice, the nuclear laboratories from Los Alamos, and to dozens of foreign governments, knowing that there was a backdoor. This gave Mossad a digital key to the world's most sensitive data.
That's crazy.
So Robert Maxwell, he was born in 1923 in a small village in Czechoslovakia, which is now Ukraine. And his name was Jan Ludwig Hoch. He was poor. He was Jewish. He was from a family that was murdered during the Holocaust. He changed his name several times. His name was Leslie Jones at some point, which is crazy. But before settling on Robert Maxwell, he was serving in the British Army. So he even won the Military Cross for his service. And Whitney Webb thinks that this was also when he was recruited as an intelligence operative, initially for the British, but with a triple loyalty that would eventually kind of include the KGB, which is Russia, and the Mossad, Israeli. Now, in 1984, Maxwell bought the Mirror Group, which included the Daily Mirror, the primary rival to Rupert Murdoch's The Sun. And Maxwell used his role as a newspaperman to travel the world and meet the heads of state like Mikhail Gorbachev and several Israeli prime ministers. He was doing all this without raising eyebrows because he's a newspaperman. Okay, of course he's meeting politicians. But in 1986, when a major Israeli bank was collapsing, Maxwell reportedly moved hundreds of millions of dollars through his companies to bail out Israel's financial system. And so Maxwell was kind of like a shadow ambassador for Israel. But by 1991, this man had stolen 440 million euro from his employees' pension. And he was trying to keep his empire afloat. So he just stole the pension money. Now, Maxwell tried to use his knowledge of the PROMIS software and other Mossad secrets to blackmail the Israeli government. Mm-hmm. He was like, but guess what? I'm going to need that loan. And they were like, yeah, nah, we ain't.
It didn't scare them?
Mossad?
Yeah, I guess not the way you're looking at me. But yeah, that's him.
No, it did not. Maxwell tried to use his knowledge of this software and the other secrets of the Mossad against the Mossad, which, bad idea. In the world of intelligence, a mega agent like Maxwell who starts blackmailing his own handlers becomes a liability immediately.
Right.
These systems rely on trust.
Right.
Even when they're not trustworthy. They rely on you being able to maintain some level of integrity and loyalty to them, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, because there's a certain level, I guess, of expected distrust, if that makes sense. Like,
but it needs to be directed towards the right person.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, we trust that we can at least trust each other this much.
And let's just be honest, he's a Jew. So how dare you?
Yikes.
Like, what do you mean? How dare you? We're the Mossad.
I learned so much you can say in the world on this podcast.
I mean, he is a Jew. What was I supposed to say?
Look, I've been through a lot of Trelawney training. Like, there's a lot of things that are true that you cannot say out loud.
You're feeling a little Gen Z, but no, he's a Jew.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
I'm not as bad as him. Don't do that. No, I'm not that bad.
But he is. He's a Jew. He's Jewish. He is, though. You know what? Okay, let's put a pause in this. It would be like if I said the Pope was Catholic. Who cares? It's a religion.
Technically true, but like that's different.
No. What you do is you fallen into the trap that we have fallen into with these people is the fact that like if you ridicule, and I talked about this in volume 1, if you have a problem with something that a Jewish person is doing, has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. I just want to clear that up right now. I can comfortably say that Robert Maxwell is Jewish. He is. True. He's from Czechoslovakia. His family was Jewish. His family was killed in the Holocaust. That does not make me anti-Semite. That makes
I didn't say you were.
But no. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying the inherent fear that we have as Americans for calling Jews is due to them pushing this ideology on us that we cannot ridicule Jewish people or the state of Israel. It's steeped in Zionism, not Judaism. I don't have a problem with Jewish people. I have a problem with Zionists. I have expressed that. I expressed that in volume 1 too. Because
I think it's tone too, though.
Yeah, I mean, because
the way you say
it's like when people say, "Oh, no," it's the same thing. Like when white people say, "Oh, well, it's a black,"
but they say that K too hard.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
But ultimately,
he's black.
He is a Jew. And if you hear a black person would also really never say somebody is a black.
No,
you
why
would say he's black. A black
say,
also, yeah.
That's when I start censoring myself.
Yeah, it's also just like, I mean, you call a black person a black. It's like, a black what, man?
It's actually kind of funny when you say it like that. It's
hilarious. It's like, why are you talking like that? But
who can I say that? Oh, I may call you a black later. Because you can't really say that to someone's not your friend.
I say it to people. I say it funny. Like, I'll say it jokingly. Yeah. Like, I'll be like, as a black. And I just joke like that because I know white people do that. And I think it's funny.
You think who does it?
White people do it. White people definitely do it.
Say a black?
Yes.
Oh, I've never seen that around me.
It is off color and ridiculous. I hate it.
It's actually on color.
It's all, okay.
Okay.
Moving on. So, where was I?
Sorry, everyone.
But he is Jewish. How about that? Is that better for you?
I'm not the...
You're not a Jew.
Wow.
Exactly.
I'm not. Then I wouldn't be worried about... Oh, see, I almost joined in.
Yeah,
it was going to be terrible.
Now, just months before his death, Maxwell saved in quotes, the New York Daily News during a strike, right? And so he was being treated like a hero. He comes to New York. He's having a good time. He's famous. He's on a boat. He's posing with the paper, whatever. Whitney Webb thinks that this was a strategic move. He was trying to establish a footprint in the U.S. media space to complement his influence in the U.S. government. Nay. On November 5th, 1991, Maxwell was found naked and floating in the Atlantic near his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. That was the name of his boat. Now, the official story is that he was last seen alive at approximately 4:25 a.m. and he failed to appear for breakfast. A search was launched. A Spanish autopsy and a subsequent British inquest officially ruled the cause of death as a heart attack combined with accidental drowning. Now, he was heavy. He could have died that way. But let's be honest. Investigators suggested that he may have lost his balance while he was leaning over the rail, or he suffered a medical emergency that caused him to fall overboard. But immediately following his death, it was discovered that Maxwell had stolen from his company's pension fund to prop up his failing newspaper and to pay off massive debts. So he was facing exposure. like criminal prosecution. So maybe he could have jumped to spare himself. I doubt it, though. There was apparently a second autopsy performed in Britain, which found suspicious bruising on Maxwell's neck and his shoulders that some pathologists argued were not consistent with a simple fall. So Webb argues that the super network, the mega group, Mossad, CIA, they knew Maxwell was a dead man walking, and they didn't want for him to die to start the next chapter. They didn't wait, for him to die to start the next chapter. The summer before, while her father was still alive, Ghislaine Maxwell was already in Ohio and in New York with Epstein. She was vetted by Wexner's inner circle. This was the transfer of service. When Robert Maxwell died in November, his intelligence files didn't go to the British government. Webb suggests that they went to the people who could still use them, Epstein and Ghislaine. One of the victims, Maria Farmer, she was the first victim. She was recruited in 1991. This means that Epstein and Ghislaine's partnership was operational before Maxwell took that dip into the Atlantic. And Robert Maxwell was still the king, but he was owning the newspapers and all this other stuff while his daughter was already working the circuit in Ohio. The real story is about the handoff, though. Webb argues that the mega group was created to provide a stable, decentralized home for the operations that Maxwell had been running. So instead of one man, Maxwell, holding all the secrets and becoming a liability, the power was spread across 20 of the world's most powerful Jews. And the old guard, Maxwell, was gone. So the new guard, Epstein and Ghislaine, they were already living with Wexner in New York, and they were using Wexner's planes, and they were moving the enterprise into the digital age. And that's where we're going to drop this off for part 2.
Ooh.
I got to finish it. But I say that to say that is one part of this that is very, very important that we have to remember. Robert Maxwell had already been doing his thing, but I think that there came a point where they were like, let's consolidate this. We got a group of people. But when he started doing the stealing, and he was also incredibly flashy, right? Like he was big into the boats and the yachts and all of this stuff. He owned a newspaper, so he's a rich man. He could do whatever he want. But when he started threatening people and threatening to release information, I think they were like, you gotta go.
Yeah, nobody's happy with that.
You gotta go.
Because it's only like you would think if you're one of the people in the know, like it's only a matter of time for you to do that to everybody.
Yes. You can't be trusted. It's only a matter of time.
Now. Yeah. It's like you did it to him, like you do it to any of us.
Absolutely. And it came
So you gotta go.
Yeah. And the way I read it and Ghislaine, when you watch her in the documentaries after her father's dies, she does seem very upset. But I do believe that because she had a relationship with him, but her father was also very abusive. We'll talk about that later. Oh. But she knew that she needed someone around to maintain her lifestyle now that her dad was gone. And I think just like a lot of these women that are involved in this, they were just trying to maintain.
Just trying to make it day to day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That was it.
Use anybody they can.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just trying to do that. Oh my God. So that's where we are. And so I think that the Epstein-Ghislaine connection, Epstein used Ghislaine, but he knew that she had access to the royals. She had access to all these very high level British officials. She was useful. So to carry the mantle, to pass the baton to Epstein made complete and total sense because he was being primed.
Yeah.
While Maxwell was operating.
He's being primed from day one by everybody.
Man. Yeah, but he had the personality for it. He was built for it, honestly.
Yeah.
So I hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you all next week for part 2. We're going to talk more about Ghislaine. We're going to talk about Ghislaine's siblings who are heavy in intelligence and surveillance. We're going to talk about Peter Thiel. We're going to talk about Elon Musk. We're going to talk about all them niggas.
Oh, no.
Guess what?
Not Elon.
Epstein knew all them niggas.
No.
Every last one of them. So put me in your books. I'm going to get it done. All right, let's go get Jeremy something to eat. I hope you all enjoyed it. And thanks for waiting.
Peace.
Peace.